It is the Mosley Show, and we get ready to bring in Grayson Grundhoefer. Oh, there he is. I mean, he's come in from playing some hoops. He's got in a workout, probably got in a long run earlier today. You never know what Grayson. Scotty, can we flash something up there to ask Grayson about? And I'm talking about maybe a recent Grayson performance that we need to ask him about. We may do that. Well, we may not. I don't know if we have that ready for you, Grayson, but there's something we. Oh, there it is. There it is. Grayson, can you have a look at that? That is, how much research I do, and my goodness,
you've been spending too much time talking to Ashley Hodge.
I do not know that name. That name is not familiar to me. Wow. Those are some big time numbers. And in fact, if I could just click on right now, I would click on the watch the highlight reel. Is this has Rec League been going pretty well lately? What's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I are expecting a kid here in a few months. And so I've been playing a lot of basketball. It's probably going to be the last time that I play in a rec league for some time. And so, yeah, just actually finished off back-to-back championships. It's in a lifetime league, so just at my gym. But yeah, been playing pretty well. It's been nice. At 32, still got it.
Boy, I love that. Should we go, Scotty, straight to VJ highlights, straight from Grayson? I wish we could get Grayson. I bet Grayson has a really good 3-point. Now, what is your game? Are you a slasher, or do you like to shoot the three, or a little bit of everything?
I would say I have a surprising game. I kind of am more of a slasher for sure, but I also play really well in the post pass. I'm kind of a little bit crafty. I shoot left-handed, but I am right-handed, so kind of can finish on both sides a little bit, which is a little confusing. And then like in that game, I think I only made like 6 threes, which when you score that, like scoring that many points, 6 threes really isn't that many. But it was a fun one for sure. I've had a couple good ones. It's been nice getting back into it and playing in games like that. And yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Okay. My sources will hopefully give me some highlights for next time that we could actually show. And congrats on that is exciting. I mean, we've buried the lead here, but an arrival and do y'all know what did you say? You're having
a boy. Yeah, we're having a boy. Our due date's March 5th. So somewhere in that range, we'll be expecting our first child.
Well, this could interfere with March Madness. I'm just trying to think kind of what's going on right around then, like Big 12 tournament time.
Yeah, a little bit. And that's totally fine. I don't have to do as much for basketball as I do for football.
Yeah.
So it's kind of good timing for me, honestly.
Yeah. Well, congrats. It's very exciting news. How cool is that to see VJ last night? And of course, I've jumped the gun. I've already got him. He's going to be the best NBA player Baylor's ever produced. And they've had some really good ones, including the microwave Vinnie Johnson. But, you remember how – here we go. You remember how, like, Grayson deferential he was early in his time at Baylor, and it's like it took him a while to just kind of realize, okay, I can take over games. And you kind of had to almost – urge him a little bit. Kind of wild that on a night when Embiid gives them nothing. That was the story. Oh, Embiid's going to play. We'll see what he does. He plays 20 minutes and scores 4 points. Maxey and VJ go crazy. I don't know. If I watched it, and I watched a lot of the highlights with just such a sense of pride. Just kind of like we got to see sort of the taking off point. And I mean, he'll have rough nights. Okay. He's not going to score 34 every game, but to see like how aggressive he was, look at him. That's exactly what we saw. I mean, against BYU or whoever they were playing at the time when he would take over those games, or Iowa State was when he just said, all right, I guess I need to go ahead and get this game. And he would start just going to the hole every time. What was that like for you, Grayson, watching VJ do it, especially against the Boston Celtics at their place?
Man, I have so many thoughts on this just because there was a lot of conversation with this, like Charles Barkley and the guys were talking about kind of knocking, Scott Drew a little bit for, where was this from VJ Baylor? And watch Baylor saw this. Like they saw what he could do. And also, like, I'll just say a couple things on maybe why it didn't work out. The team wasn't constructed very well for VJ to kind of shine and do the things that I think would have made him special. Specifically, Jeremy Roach not living up to his potential was a big thing that hurt them. And I think hurt VJ as well. Also, just say this. I mean, if you watch him in college, it's very clear that the pro game just fits where his game was at so much more. His ability in transition, his ability to get to the rim. I mean, you see it there. I mean, that kind of space doesn't exist in the college game. And so guys are going to have a much harder time keeping him out of the lane and trying to stay in front of him defensively because he's so fast, so athletic. But I think the biggest thing with him, and you're going to see it a little bit, I think also from Tunde Yesufu this year, he just played so dang hard during his time at Baylor. It didn't matter if they were losing by 20, losing by 30. He was always playing hard, just a constant motor. And that kind of work ethic, that kind of engine is what really makes a great pro basketball player. And I think he's got a really bright future ahead of him. I was really impressed. It's the third most ever by a rookie in their debut. I think it's the most in, I think like Wilt. You're looking at Wilt and then one other guy that was very, very old. He also passed Allen Iverson's 76ers rookie debut record. So a lot of really, really cool things from VJ. That wasn't the only game I was watching though, because I'm a huge Spurs fan. So I got to see Wemby just absolutely dominate the Mavericks. So it's just great to have basketball back. I can't wait for the Bears as well as they get their season started here really soon. I mean, it's coming up.
Scotty, he's starting to cut out on me after that San Antonio admission. I'm not really hearing him that well. I opened with Wemby today. I mean, other than the NBA arrest, which are crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's otherworldly. And it got to the point in that game where you could just tell when you go into an opposing arena and you hear that from the crowd. I mean, it used to be reserved for LeBron, maybe some of what Steph could do to you. But and then maybe now what Luka will do to them, but just that hushed kind of like those reactions of like, oh my gosh, like just, and you've seen bits and pieces of this from Wemby. It's not like, hey, this is the first time he's played well. He's had great games already for San Antonio, but to have been out for what, eight months, and then we're like, what's he doing? He's off at like a Buddhist, temple or doing some weird stuff in the off season. You're probably thinking to yourself, what's he up to? And like that right there, that's the MVP of the league. Like, I'm not saying he's going to play like that every night, but that level is absolute MVP level. And he made like really, I mean, Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, like good, solid NBA defenders. He made them look like little kids. So
he really did. It was impressive. Like seeing what he could do off the dribble was impressive. And also just like his strength has changed. You can just see it. He's so much stronger. So yeah, that was just so much fun to see these NBA debuts. Baylor guys did really well. Davion Mitchell had a good performance to open his season. Tarian Prince played pretty well. So yeah, it was very good for, I think, Baylor basketball in general.
All right. Back to football. You have this down on SicEm365 as a legacy game for Sawyer. And I think in the context of coming off a really rough game for him, and he was not getting help at times. There were some drops in that game. And then, of course, what we're seeing, Baylor always has the frantic comeback, right? I mean, they had to do it against K-State. They had to do it against SMU. I mean, I guess you could make arguments. This record could swing either way, right? It could be really, really bad. Maybe you could make the argument it could be better than 4-3. I don't know. But you asked the question, will this be a Sawyer Robertson legacy game? And it really does feel like they need to have happen in Cincinnati what they did to Texas Tech last year. Like they need to show up and somehow have one of those, we're all on, maybe get a couple of takeaways. They need a lot to go their way, or it's 4-4. And it just doesn't, it doesn't seem like help's coming on defense. There's no player like with the Cowboys. You go, this guy's coming back. DeMarvion Overshield's coming back. Help is not on the way really with this Baylor defense. So I think that allowed you to arrive at a place like, if anything's going to happen, it's Sawyer has to bounce back with a huge game.
That's where it's at right now. I mean, especially in this Cincinnati matchup where I know Cincinnati's good. I think that maybe people are a little too excited about them. I think they're very good, but I also think that there's maybe just a tad too much going in their direction. I don't think that they've been as good as maybe people think. They do have, a top 50 defense. Their defense is kind of in the same region as your TCUs, your SMUs, your K-States. It's kind of in that region. Then their offense, of course, is great. So the issue here is I don't see Baylor's defense getting very many stops. And really what this comes down to is Baylor's offense, when the defense does get any stops or force a field goal or anything along those lines, the offense has to take advantage of it. And they didn't do that against TCU. They could have easily been up 14-0 in that game. And instead it was 7-7. And just everything kind of felt like, if they'd gotten out to that lead, who knows what happens? It's college football. A lot of things can happen. But I think in general, when I look at this matchup, it's very clear what Cincinnati wants to do. They are cool with giving up yards, and they've given up yards on the ground since Big 12 play started. They've given up yards through the air all year long. They're going to give up yards, but the issue comes in the red zone. Cincinnati is second best in the entire Big 12 as far as red zone touchdown percentage. So when Baylor gets in the red zone, when any team has gotten in the red zone, they are not scoring touchdowns because of this Cincinnati defense. They don't give up scores. They force you to kick field goals. They force you to go for it on fourth down. All of those things are really, really important when you're looking at games that are close in the Big 12, when you're looking at your defensive metrics. If you can get those stops in the red zone, it's key. And Cincinnati is currently at a 47.8% touchdown percentage allowed in the red zone. And then you look at their offense, they're also second best in scoring touchdowns in the red zone at 78.5%. Baylor's at 68%, which is second worst in the Big 12 in allowing that. So all this to say, if Baylor is going to be in this game, they're going to have to score in the red zone. They're going to have to find a way to score in the red zone. And in order to do that, you're probably going to have to throw the football. And Sawyer Robertson is probably going to have to throw for 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game, in my eyes, especially with kind of where things have been out with the running game. I also think Cincinnati is pretty susceptible through the air. They don't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback. They don't force interceptions. They only have 1 interception on the season. This sets up for Sawyer to throw the ball really efficiently and put up some points and some yards for Baylor if they can score in the red zone. And that's why I kind of pegged this as a potential legacy game, because you're going to have to play some keep up and then you're going to have to put up some points. So yeah, it's going to have to be kind of in line with, I think, the SMU game. Somewhere in that range is kind of how Baylor's going to have to play, because I don't see the defense getting very many stops.
Well, and you wrote about Sorsby. Doesn't it feel like he's almost having the season Sawyer had last year? Kind of shocking to see how he's not turning the ball over. They got off to, they had the one loss, was it against Nebraska to open the season, and then they got on a run. I don't know where Baylor is in this secondary. It's just, if you said, Matt, if we had to come up with the best cornerback right now for Baylor, it's just like they all like it. And in fact, in that TCU game early, I would say, when I was racing over there from the pregame, Thornton actually made a couple of plays on the ball, so I have to try to remember like good moments from this defense, but it's just it's just sad, honestly, that they don't have reinforcements, or they don't have anybody they can really, with folks out and some veterans out and everything, like Williford, for instance. Maybe somebody will convince me that he's going to be good someday or whatever, but he's not ready. Like, they're like racing past him. He's bad on double moves. And then when you hear Dave talk, what frustrates me about Aranda is just and he'll try to explain it to you. So it shouldn't frustrate me, because most coaches don't spend the time that Dave does saying, well, here's what happened. But that one run that they had, I mean, Baylor needed to stop, and they went for 55 yards and barely got touched. It's like I'm tired of hearing Aranda say, well, we had a safety, and he was supposed to come up there, and somebody was driving. The linebacker was coming over here. And it's like part of me thinks when I hear those explanations, I'm like, well, that's a bad scheme if you were like relying on one safety. And by the way, your safety play hasn't been great this year to break up a running play. And so I guess where they are is their up front guys are not good enough with their techniques. And then you have to have an explanation like that. Well, the safety was supposed to take a direct line, but for some reason he veered off because he thought somebody was cracking down from his left. I like coaches that explain things, but I'm to the point, I'm like, it doesn't really matter. It's not good enough.
It's not. And I think the fundamental problem is that Baylor is losing in the front. And when you're losing in the front, I do not really care, I care who's missing tackles, but if you're just getting mauled up front, it's really hard for a linebacker to be great. It's really hard for a safety to go make game-changing plays if you're just getting moved all the time. And in that TCU game specifically, they just were physically outmatched in that game. And, I'm not saying that can't change in specific matchups, but in that game, one team wanted it a whole lot more. And I think it was pretty evident which team wanted that game more, which team was hungrier in that game. And I just think that's what happened there. I mean, Baylor also did try to play three safeties at times. I think that's also part of it, Matt, is that you're playing three safeties kind of high because you're trying to make corrections. And unfortunately, their bet was, okay, maybe we can stop the run because TCU is not a good running football team. And we're going to try to take away some of the things in the pass game. They obviously got hit by the run game, and it put safeties in positions to make tackles, obviously, that weren't made all the time. And so I think in general, Dave Aranda's trying to get creative. I think some of it is personnel. Like if you're not winning up front, that's a personnel problem, really. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of that is just are you overmatched up front? The problem is in comes probably the best offensive line Baylor's faced all year in Cincinnati, or at least they're right there with your Auburn and your Arizona State. These are the three best offensive lines Baylor will face all year. Cincinnati's offensive line hasn't given up a sack, or I think they've given up 2 sacks all year, one in Big 12 play. Baylor is the worst pass rushing team in the Big 12 as far as actually getting sacks. And so you put that together, it's kind of like, okay, Sorsby's probably going to have a lot of time. They're going to be able to run the football. How are you going to get off the field here? And that is a big concern of mine. That's why you kind of feel like this is probably going to be a shootout, or Cincinnati's going to just kind of sit on the football if they get a lead. It's kind of both of those things coming together. But yeah, there's a lot to be worried about here. And that performance against TCU doesn't give you a lot to be excited about. So it's really just kind of going to come down to, can Baylor score enough in this game to make up for the deficiencies that we know they have on defense, and maybe catch a few lucky breaks. Maybe you're able to have like a 3 turnover game like the Arizona State game, for instance, that Baylor just kind of gave to Arizona State with those turnovers. Maybe you get lucky and have that, but this team hasn't really shown that they have the ability to force those. So it would kind of be just a complete flipping of what has happened all year long.
Yeah, and you saw that stop rate. Bears are like 119th in stop rate, and it just does not look like. And I don't know. I mean, like the recruiting is the only thing. When you put one of those posts up on SicEm or on Twitter of like what all those recruits are doing on a weekly basis, I'm like, okay, I'd love to see those guys. But then you wonder, okay, is this staff like headed to a place where we're ever going to really get to see those kids? Usually even like really good recruits, you might need to wait till their second year on campus. There's not a lot of true freshmen who walk in, and that's the biggest reason you would root for the staff to stay intact or for Dave Aranda not to get fired, is because they've put together a nice class. Did I see you say they offered somebody from out in California this week? I noticed one of the Baylor coaches one of the Baylor personnel guys that does the dancing. Was there some activity on the recruiting front this week?
they have put out some offers. They offered a JUCO kid out of Los Angeles. That's probably the one that you're referring to there. But yeah, I expect more momentum for Baylor on their recruiting trail. And it's kind of funny because, you know, Baylor fans right now are kind of at a point where a lot of them are very frustrated with what's happening. But then you turn around and it's like, man, you know, this recruiting class is like a top 25 recruiting class. Like, this is going to be a really good class for 2026. 2027 already has 2 4-stars committed in it. So it's just like, man, there's a lot to be excited about there. And now it just really comes down to, can they take care of things on the football field so that that class stays together and so that the staff remains? You know what I mean? All of those things are very important when it comes to recruiting. Getting a win against Cincinnati on Saturday would be a big one, I think, for this program and for their kind of trajectory. I know a lot of Baylor fans, again, are kind of upset, maybe a little bit out. You know, some of them are just fully out, and, you know, I can't really argue with you from what we've seen on the field, but I would also say there are reasons to look at and go, okay, well, if they can fix this, if they can win a close game here, if they can do, you know, just some little things right, maybe they find a way to a decent record by the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're retained and maybe they're able to continue this momentum on the recruiting trail, which right now is very palpable.
I was trying to tell Scotty that I thought the homecoming crowd would be fine because Baylor homecoming, and it's a huge deal, and people love the parade and coming back. He seems to think that's not going to be the case. It's obviously not a great opponent, which is what you want on homecoming. Although, I don't know, UCF may be ascending for all I know. They seem like they're doing okay or kind of hanging in there. Because, by the way, if this thing goes really south, that Houston game at the end could look, you know, that could look really bad. Do you think even on a homecoming, Baylor fans are as upset as, like, there may be kind of a poor showing for that game coming up?
I mean, if they lose to Cincinnati and you're sitting at 4-4, there's not a lot of excitement off of that.
Yeah.
So I mean, based on what we've seen from the crowds really since the Auburn game, I mean, the Arizona State game had a decent crowd, but the K-State game was pretty disappointing to see the crowd for that one. I think that Scotty's probably right about it. I think that it's probably going to be a much smaller crowd than most would anticipate for a homecoming matchup. But at the end of the day, I mean, Baylor just needs to find a way to win games. I know you want the crowd to be good and things like that, and I understand that. And, you know, homecoming's a great opportunity for that. But I think this team needs to stack together some wins before the expectation can really be for there to be a great crowd. I think that's where things are at right now. Maybe if you're able to, you know, even if you lose to Cincy, if you beat UCF on homecoming and you get a great chance to face another ranked team at home against Utah the next weekend, maybe then you're able to get a good crowd. But I think homecoming is very much up in the air at this point.
All right. And Scotty, would you mind throwing that graphic up? I just wanted Grayson to take a peek at what we had done. Grayson, can you see that okay?
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the PowerPoint time of the Mosley Show. Now, I just wanted to throw this at you. We were kind of trying to work through of, like, looking not just on this season, but maybe a couple seasons back, a little bit more of a holistic thing on programs that are ascending, ones that are on the way down. Now, maybe we're too close to it, and the defense is so horrible for Baylor, and the loss is too fresh to TCU, but we do have the downward arrow for the Bears. I think the upward arrows are pretty easy to explain with what Tech's, you know, they had the loss, but still a lot of people have them going 11-1. In the context of the whole conference right now, you think it's fair to have Baylor with a downward trajectory? And do you see anything else that jumps out at you? Like, is there any of those programs that you would not have the flat line? Like, would you have Utah maybe pointed upward, or is there anything you disagree with there?
Yeah, actually, there's quite a few thoughts I have on this one. So Utah, I feel like their problem is what's going to happen when Kyle Whittingham is gone. I think that's kind of the unknown there. And so I think it's probably fair to have them without an arrow pointing up, even though I think they're very good this year. They have a really good quality team. BYU, yeah, I agree with that one. I think, you know, some of the ones I'm looking at here, Arizona, I don't really see an arrow pointing up for Arizona. If you want to say they're kind of just, you know, even baseline, like everything's just that yellow line, I think that would make sense. But I'm not really sure I see an ascending program there. I don't know that they have a bunch of juice from this year, even though they've been more competitive than I guess I thought they would be. I still think by the end of the year, you're probably looking at a team that's, more like a 6-6 type team, which is better than last year, but I don't know that that's really saying much. K-State is an interesting one. I think recruiting wise, I can see the downward arrow there, but I also think that as we go forward in the end of the year here, I think they're going to beat some good teams. And I think they're going to be a frustrating one for teams to have to play. I just think they're far different than they were at the beginning of the year. And we saw it with the Baylor game. They really should have won that game against Baylor. They just weren't able to close it out. They beat up on TCU pretty badly in Manhattan. I think this weekend, I think they're actually going to beat Kansas, who I think actually has the downward arrow more so than K-State does. That Kansas defense is so bad. And they're not Baylor level bad, but pretty close. And so I do think that they might take some lumps by the end of the year. And, I don't know that they're super happy with the fact that they're not having a great season this year. And the only other one I would look at, I think Colorado is a yellow line for now. I don't think they're ascending at the moment either. I like what y'all did with West Virginia and UCF with the new coaches. I think it's fair to give them a pass on this year. I think we all kind of knew that it would be, UCF's probably overperforming. West Virginia's probably underperforming, but I think in general, they're both going to end the season just, hey, this was just year one and getting ready for next year. And we can probably have a better conversation then about those programs. But yeah, I think y'all pretty much had it right. I think that some of this is also schedule based. Like Houston's had just an awesome schedule. They haven't really had to be pushed very much. They lost the really only really good team they've played. They lost. They barely beat a terrible Oregon State team. So I'm still to be determined, but I like their coach. And I think their schedule plays out pretty well for them to finish the season strong. And sometimes schedules do you some favors. And I think that's what it's doing for Houston right now.
All right, good stuff. And as knee-jerk as we are, Grayson, this thing could change pretty quickly, even based on what you maybe just said. But, man, it's going to be fascinating to watch it all play out. We'll look forward to seeing you. I hate that I don't always see you in the press box because Levi and Ashley, there's some jokes that it can happen when a game goes about 6 hours or close to 6 hours there at TCU. And so I was firing some off, and Levi at least seems to act like he likes those. So anyway, we'll look forward to seeing you. The only other thing I was going to say about that graphic, if we give Whittingham, because of his age and because of he's had such a great career, if we just said, okay, he's the best coach in the conference, and we took him aside, is Dillingham the next best coach in the conference, or would you give it to obviously Sitake's he's working on another really good season. I love the guy. I just love how he leads and how he is with the media. And I know that doesn't really have much to do with anything, but I do love that about him. How would you rank that if you were doing the top 2 or 3 coaches in this conference right now?
I think you can add Whittingham into it. And I would just say this. I think that if I was starting a program, the coach that I would go with is Kenny Dillingham. I think he just gets it. Like he just gets NIL. He gets what he's needed to do with, alums and boosters. And I think he's built so much excitement for Arizona State, a program that was kind of, left for dead for a little bit in there. And he's risen them to very good heights. I mean, yeah, they lost to Utah, but that was more of a case of where I think they were just like, hey, man, we're banged up. We're going to sit a lot of guys and focus on the Tech game. And they took care of business. They won a close game against Baylor that, again, I think that's Baylor's game where you go, that probably should have been a win, and they just couldn't take care of business. But Dillingham's awesome. I think he's got really good culture there. I don't know if they're going to win the Big 12 this year. I think they still have some flaws, but at the end of the day, they control their own destiny now after being Texas Tech, and they're in a position once again to get back to Arlington. They were there last year, had a great performance in the college football playoff. I think his team plays really hard and responds for him, and I just think he understands college football right now. So if I was starting a program, that's probably who I would go with at the moment.
All right, appreciate it. Grayson, what do you have coming up rest of the week that we should be looking for on SicEm365?
I got a really fun interview with Tobias Bass of The Athletic. That's going to be a basketball-centric interview with him. So he actually got to go to practice a week ago. So he talks about what he saw at practice. He also covers basketball recruiting. So he's gotten to see a lot of the recruits in person, a bunch of guys who Baylor's targeting. And then, of course, Baylor's 2026 commit Elijah Williams. He's gotten to see him extensively in person since he was a freshman. And so lots of really good nuggets there about the current team. And then, of course, about the future of men's basketball. So nice little breather in between some football for now.
All right. Tell S11, hey, there are no Saturdays off. I was looking for my S11 reaction from Sam Bradshaw, and I'm sure it was a very important thing that he had. I think perhaps involving one of his children. But anyway, but that's good, Tobias, because a lot of times we have to lean on Ashley to observe practice. And I don't know. We need another voice, I think. And so I think that'll be good to hear from Tobias Bass. So, hey, thanks, Grayson. Have a great rest of the week, and then we'll wait to read what you have to say after Saturday's game.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. There he goes, Grayson Grundhoefer on the Matt Mosley Show. He's one of the stars over there at SicEm365. That'll be good. That sounds like something you would like, Scotty, is like a good practice report from Tobias. Who do we know that's a Tobias? Oh, Tobias Harris, who played with the 76ers. I don't know where he's playing now, but we that's the only Tobias. And there's a Tobias Menzies, who's a pretty good actor. Just trying to think of all the Tobiases I know. All right. So that was good. And man, a lot of different directions to go there. A Sawyer Robertson legacy game. Very, very interesting.
If you want the best for your body, you want Ascension Providence, the largest sports and orthopedics group in Central Texas. Using innovative and cutting-edge technology, we're able to understand your body better than ever, delivering treatment with precision. And with our fellowship-trained and board-certified doctors, you'll receive excellent care. Work with a team dedicated to your health, wellness, and safety.
So you can perform
at your best.
Ascension Providence, caring for Texas families for over 120 years.
Drive in the fall at Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Huge savings and the best selection in Central Texas. From powerful Ram trucks, Motor Trend's Truck of the Year, to adventure-ready Jeeps and stylish new Dodges, we've got the right ride for you. Upgrading, downsizing, or buying your very first vehicle, Allen Samuels has you covered with friendly service and deals that make driving fun. Don't miss the Drive in the Fall event, only at Allen Samuels.
Come by, let's be friends.
When Central National Bank decided to partner with Baylor women's basketball, we didn't know exactly what that partnership would look like.
What brings you into the bank today?
For the last couple of months, I've been noticing a charge on my account, and I would like to block it.
I see. So you have a charge.
Yes?
And you'd like to block it?
Yes.
I think you should take the charge.
What?
Yeah, I definitely think you should take the charge.
I don't think you understand.
Sometimes you just have to take one for the team.
Is there a manager available?
We love that Coach Collin is all about the team. Once we get the vocabulary down, the sky's the limit.
Central National Bank, proud partner of Baylor Athletics and Baylor women's basketball.
I have Mac Rhodes, director of Baylor Athletics, on the phone. Mac, can you tell Peggy why she should take the charge?
Of course she should take the charge. Wait, are you at the bank again? And who is Peggy?
Football is back, and Underdog is the best place to make picks and win money all season long. Playing on Underdog is easy. Just pick whether your favorite players will go higher or lower on stats like touchdowns, receiving yards, interceptions, and more. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash. You can play with as little as $1. Download the app today and sign up with promo code Mosley to score $50 in bonus funds when you play your first $5. That's promo code MOSLEY. Millions of fans have already won billions making picks on Underdog. Will you be next? Underdog, make picks, win money.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 HOPE line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369.